From Southern Colorado's high-definition news leader, this is News Channel 13, where the news comes first.
Tragedy in France as a truck drives into a crowded street, killing dozens. We'll have the latest.
Plus, a fire is continuing to burn in Fremont County. Ahead, what you need to know about the Hayden Pass fire.
And today's weather could be favorable for those firefighting efforts. I've got the details on that and your weekend forecast coming up.
Good morning, Colorado. It's 4:30, Friday, July 15th. I'm John Carroll.
And I'm Dana Clemens. We want to start right off with the newest information on the attacks in France.
Right now, at least 84 people are dead, including 2 Americans, after an attacker drove a truck through a crowd during Bastille Day festivities. It's being called a terrorist attack, but so far no groups have claimed responsibility. Officials have not released the identity of the attacker. He was reportedly known to police. We'll have more information on the attacks in just a few minutes.
Happening right now, crews are continuing to battle the Hayden Pass fire burning in Fremont County. The fire's now burned close to 15,000 acres. But there is good news for some evacuees.
Those who live on County Road 6, County Road 40, and in the Fox Creek subdivision may be able to return home for a few hours this morning.
Evacuations are still in place for those west of County Road 1A. That road does remain closed this morning.
And we have team coverage. Scott Harrison is live in Coaldale this morning. Storm Tracker 13's Mike Everett is taking a look at how weather can impact the fire. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning to you, John. Good morning, Colorado. We are looking at some very mild weather, and that is favorable for fighting the fires. In fact, yesterday we saw those storms roll through, and the big gusty winds that were possible didn't materialize, and so that was some good news for the firefighters. Here's some more good news for you. We cooled off nicely overnight into the mid-50s right now in the Springs. Winds are calm. Traffic's moving well. This is courtesy of our Underwater Connection Neighborhood Weather Network camera. More good news for you. As we look at our current winds right now, we are seeing calm conditions in Canyon City and in Gunnison. That 5-mile-an-hour wind blowing in from the west in Salida right now. 5 miles an hour is what we're seeing in Pueblo and in the Springs right now. In fact, mostly mellow. The only double digits we're seeing are currently in Springfield with 16 miles an hour. 63 up at the airport right now in the Springs, 66 in Pueblo, 55 Salida, some 40s up in the high country. Leadville and Gunnison, I'm expecting you to get into the upper 30s before you bottom out and start to warm up today. We're looking at some mid to upper 60s out towards La Junta and Lamar. Live HD Doppler radar, we had some very active weather in some portions of southern Colorado last night, but all of that has now cleared out and moved on. We are tracking the possibilities of some more afternoon storms coming in today. I've got all the details on that coming up in my full forecast. John and Dana, back to you.
Thanks, Mike. Firefighters at the Hayden Pass wildfire hope that today is as good as yesterday was for them.
They're calling yesterday the best day of the week so far, as favorable weather brought in progress to their efforts to extinguish the fire. KRDO News Channel 13 Scott Harrison is live in Coaldale now, the small town that was in the path of the fire. But it is in much better shape this morning. Scott, it was a week ago that a lightning strike ignited this fire.
And we saw it blow up 2 days after that into what it's become now. During the cool overnight hours, though, here, as these fires do, they lay down, they keep burning, but they're somewhat subdued until the sun comes back up again. And today, firefighters are counting on a second straight day of cooler temperatures, higher humidity, better winds, and maybe even some rain to help them. Let's take you to video that we have from you from earlier, yesterday. The Forest Service says the flames have shifted from northwest here toward Coaldale to southeast. Now what that means is the fire is now burning more dead trees from pine beetles in wilderness areas and is posing less of a threat to homes and structures. The weather and air support from 3 tankers along with helicopters gave crews more time to dig a fire line to protect Coaldale if the fire comes back in this direction.
So the dozer line can be 10, 20 feet wide, but then the firefighters have to go on another 30, 40 feet and prep that. There's also places where we're not putting a dozer line because it's too steep.
But remember, despite yesterday's success, there's still no containment on this fire. So the Forest Service still wants to add to the 440 firefighters already here and bring in more equipment and resources. Now, coming up at 5, we're going to explain why today also is a big day for many of the people who evacuated from their homes because of this fire. Reporting live in Coaldale this morning, Scott Harrison, KRDO News Channel 13.
Scott, thank you very much. 5 firefighters who were on their way to battle the Hayden Pass fire are recovering this morning after they were involved in a crash. The crew had just left the Cold Springs fire in Boulder County when they were hit by a tractor trailer on I-25 near Fort Collins. They were released from the Cold Springs fire there in Boulder County. No one else was hurt in the crash. Those firefighters are expected to be okay.
Crews have a pretty good handle on a fire burning at Fort Carson this morning. That fire is now 75% contained. The fire has burned about 720 acres since it sparked this weekend. No structures are threatened, and we still don't know the cause of the fire.
And the Cold Springs fire in Boulder County is fully contained. The fire burned about 528 acres near the town of Nederland and destroyed 8 homes. The fire also came up to one home's front door. Everyone who was evacuated in that fire are now able to head back to their homes. We have everything you need to know about the Hayden fire, including the evacuations, on our website. Just head to krdo.com.
Now back to that deadly terrorist attack in France. Heads of state around the world are condemning the attack, and the U.S. presidential candidates are weighing in on what the country can do to stop a similar attack. And this morning, Reed Binion has the details.
France is afflicted by this new tragedy.
French President Francois Hollande addressing a nation once again in mourning, just hours after a terror attack that left scores dead in the Mediterranean coastal city of Nice. It was Bastille Day, with festivities similar to July 4th in America. Crowds gathered to watch fireworks on the city's beachfront promenade. Then gunshots, a roaring engine, and screams.
Just knew that we had to run for our lives.
The driver of a large truck firing into the crowd, then barreling down the street in a murderous tear that lasted for more than a mile.
You could hear banging sounds as the truck drove over people.
Among the dead, parents and children.
That was the worst thing, was watching couples and parents running with their children. The terror, just their fear.
With bodies littering the street, police shot the driver dead, later finding guns, explosives, and grenades in the truck. The shockwave from the attack rolled across the Atlantic and onto the presidential campaign trail. Hillary Clinton calling for greater intelligence gathering to fight terror. Donald Trump telling Fox News he'd ask for a declaration of war against ISIS. Former House Speaker Newt Gingrich, while the investigation has only just begun, offering a more extreme reaction.
We should, frankly, test every person from here who is of a Muslim background, and if they believe in Sharia, they should be deported.
I'm Reed Binion reporting.
Race is continuing to be a hot topic after several recent shootings involving African American men.
Ahead, we'll have the highlights from yesterday's town hall discussion on race.
And yesterday we discussed that moisture returning to our atmosphere, firing up some storms last night. We're seeing those making their way out of the state now, but another round is setting up to come in this afternoon. Details coming up.